The holidays are over and now you find yourself broke, poor, destitute, penniless. January really be struggling, but you want to play some games. Who doesn't love games? What better place is there than browsing the selection on the premier PC marketplace, Steam? Issue is, most of this costs money, and I don't got any of that right now. Here's the thing though, not everything costs money on Steam. Some people put their games up for free. So here's top 10 free Steam games for broke bitches like you and me. Can't go wrong with free 99. Except there's not 10 games. There's just 9 on the list. Also, it's not even in any particular order. Nothing's being ranked here. This is just the first 9 games that caught my eye. Some of them aren't even that good and I don't like them. Here's 9 games after these messages. Thank you to my supporters. If you would like to support me and the channel, you can do so on Patreon. Link on screen and in the description. If you do, you'll be thanked in the videos, be able to watch each video a week early, as well as gain access to bonus videos. There's going to be a running theme across most of these games, and that theme is that they tend to be pretty fucking short games. What better game to exemplify this trend than Residents of the Ocean, with a runtime girth looking at 15 whole minutes. Damn, looking like a whole Xenoblade with that length. For real though, Residents of the Ocean is a real short experience asking for a level commitment smaller than a micropenis. Who the fuck doesn't have 15 minutes? What drew me in and made me interested in checking this game out was the art. It's beautiful and easily the strongest aspect of this game. The game is going for a flat color style with a lack of shading or highlights, and yet it doesn't feel wholly flat. The environment has a texture laid over top that gives it some depth and makes it much nicer to look at. The game itself is straightforward in how you play it. As far as controls go, there's really only move and interact. It's a simple puzzle game. You walk around, find shit lying on the ground, and you either use it straight up or combine it with something else to mimic a sound that you hear coming from across the ocean. It's got a heartwarming message about connecting, or resonating if you will, with others, leaving an impact on someone else or them impacting you. Residents of the Ocean is a lovely little game that I would suggest you play. Psychopomp is another game that initially caught my interest for the way it looks. This game looks like shit, non-pejorative. It's dirty, dingy as fuck, and has these disgusting little freak fellas populating the game. I love it. This shit looks cool as hell. Psychopomp has some hyper-imaginative, surreal, and sick visuals. I like this moon. I vote we replace our own moon with it. Psychopomp is about this tweaker who builds a helmet and sees a hidden world with it. I love this girl. She's a walking red flag, and everything she does and says is some absolutely unhinged shit. In 1956, a new disease appeared in Osaka, Japan. The symptoms included a strong cough, rash, and becoming a room. Luckily, the virus was contained and eradicated. Starting in 2001, the rooms have been rented out as a bed and breakfast. Sounds legit. I'd let her ruin me, not even gonna lie. But just about everything in this game is fucking unhinged, and it's wonderful. The objective for this stage is that this fucking freak wants to die, so you turn off all the safeguards and taking a couple pit stops to brutally murder the workers here with a hammer. Just girl things. This auto blow looking ass tells you to make his death as painful as possible. That's rad. Every piece of writing in this game is weird as shit and hilarious. Psychopomp is a fucking banger. The game is about an hour long, and if you find yourself loving it, it's got an extended release called Psychopomp Gold. And here's footage of me buying it because I want more of it. You ever play Sekiro and think to yourself, damn, I wish I was an anime bunny girl fighting jiggly as fuck anime girls? I think of that every second of the game. God damn, are those bouncy. How am I supposed to focus on the actual game with this on my screen? This game is Kannagi Usagi. It's a Sekiro, but this time for degenerates. Kannagi Usagi is a series of bosses that you can select from that plays like Sekiro. It's fucking blatant how much it's borrowing, so if you need a quick Sekiro fix, then this is for you. If you don't know what Sekiro is or how it plays, it's a challenging action game about hard reads and hard committals to your actions. You've got to learn the boss's attack patterns, read if you need to parry, dodge, or jump that shit, then jump that bitch. More likely than that is your shit getting rocked instead. I would have footage of Sekiro to directly compare it to Kannagi Usagi, but I lent my copy to a friend like 2 years ago and the fucker still has my copy. The game's got 8 bosses to it, and depending on your skill, it could take you an hour if you're an action junkie, or maybe even 5 hours if you're a normal person. I've got a problem. I'm horribly addicted to Picross. I fucking love Picross. I put in several hundred hours across the Picross S series of games developed by Jupiter on the Switch. If there's anything in this video that I would claim to be an expert in, it's motherfucking Picross. But the issue is, those are paid versions. I'm here because my wallet's on life support. You think I got a cent to my name? There's a ton of free versions of Picross games, and the first one that I found on Steam that was free was Picross Touch. With Picross Touch being free, there's zero barrier to entry here. If you haven't played a Picross game and don't know if you'll lock in as much as I have, then this would certainly be a way to go. Especially if you end up bouncing off of Picross and don't want to feel like you wasted your money trying it, even if it is only $5 to $11. But hey, I guess some people can have wrong opinions. When it comes to puzzle quantity, Picross Touch has 366 default puzzles built in, starting at 5x5s, going up to 15x15s. You can also create and share puzzles in the workshop, resulting in an ass load of user-submitted puzzles. Oh, it crashed. The average Picross S has 150 standard puzzles ranging from 5x5s to 20x15s, as well as 150 mega puzzles, 30 color puzzles, 5 sets of clip puzzles, each containing anywhere from 30 to 60 puzzles each, and 5 extra puzzles that tend to be an absurd size. Whereas Picross Touch has the quantity, Picross S has the variety, and also generally higher quality puzzles. In Picross Touch, I played a couple of the last puzzles and they were pretty easy. Didn't offer much of a challenge to do. And the S series also has way better quality of life features and options for onboarding new players. You've got dedicated buttons to count squares, mark squares, rewind turns in the later releases, different control layouts, and several types of assists that you're able to turn off and on depending on your skill level and how comfortable you are to play without any help. Despite Touch having a lower barrier to entry, the S series provides options to guide you and provide an easier time when learning the game. This is also a personal thing, but I prefer playing a controller on most games when I can. Picross Touch doesn't offer that support. The game is mouse exclusive. If you're interested in Picross, I would suggest to try it out with Picross Touch. Shit's free and there's nothing to lose. But if you find that you gel well with the game, then just buy a Picross game for a higher quality experience. You've probably noticed a trend by now when it comes to games I find an interest in, and that's typically when there's something interesting going on with the art direction. Ego in a Coma is another game that keeps this trend going. Hey, this background art goes hard.
Our daddy taught us not to be ashamed of our dicks.
Well, it is hard when it's not meme trash. I'm not a big fan of this area. Meme shit is just tacky and never as funny as you think it is in your head, and very quickly loses any and all relevance. Just don't do it. The rest of the screens, or at least what I played, are bathed in neon and are going for different themes. Shout out to this Nightmare Flesh hand room. And that's about where any and all positivity I've got for this game runs out. Ego in a Coma is an action game. A bad action game. First off, there's no fucking controller support, which is ridiculous. The thought of playing action games on a keyboard makes you want to throw up, but I forced it down and proceeded anyway. But the action itself is jank as fuck. It feels really bad to play and it gets frustrating. The most egregious example is that if you turn too fast, as in you're walking to the right and suddenly start moving left because you don't want your shit to get rocked and want to avoid an attack, you just stop moving. Dead in your tracks, vulnerable as hell until you press the button to move again. The combat is also bad. It is brain dead as shit. Hitboxes in this game are absurd. You can be a fucking mile away and somehow your attack will connect. You can be on the floor above an enemy and it will somehow still connect. Some of these bosses are absolute fucking jokes. Because your hitbox is so huge, you can attack outside of this boss's range and it will never retaliate ever. It's pathetic. And when you defeat a stage's boss, you unlock a new weapon. This spear is genuinely awful because it flashes the whole screen white when you use it. It sucks to look at. Ego in a Coma is a rough fucking game, and the more I played it, the more frustrated I got with it, to the point that I didn't even bother finishing the game. I called it quits, but the game wasn't done with me yet. When I went to close the game, it crashed. Bad game. But if you are looking for an actually legit good action game to try out, then I'd recommend Touhou Mystery Reel. You wanna know what's really fucking important in an action game? When it feels good to play. Like this game. Touhou Mystery Reel has got pretty fluid movement that feels good. Your movement is quick and responsive, you got good air control, and it's generally fun using your kit of jump, attack, and dash for both offensive purposes as well as platforming. Sometimes both at the same time. And there's controller support, which makes me nut whenever I see it. This Touhou fan game has only just got 2 stages, which might not sound like a whole lot, but there's surprisingly more to it than just the surface level getting to the end of the stage. There's enough content in this game that could take you anywhere from 30 minutes if you just critical path the game, to even up to 3 hours depending on a completion of the side content, which is honestly worth doing. I ended up playing an hour and came off of it satisfied with what I played. The stages are not that long, but they're fairly dense. Nearly every screen in this game has at least one secret, sometimes more than one that can be mutually exclusive with other secrets. Touhou Mystery Reel is designed to have stages with a lot of replayability with different goals and even also endings, all of which is tracked in game. And doing some of those are legit fucking challenging as well. I tried, but I never ended up beating Kosuzu legit. That bitch is fierce! And Reimu's boss fight was also really fun to learn as well. Figuring out that I could parry the projectiles and learning when I'm able to strike was rewarding and made me feel big-brained. And despite being challenging, death is also really forgiving. You're a dumb fucking fairy, but much like a dumb fucking fairy, you just get back up and are fine. It's pretty lore accurate. Now, supposedly, the game is in early access and the dev claims that more stages are in development. I doubt that. It's been 2 years since an update and I would be surprised if we saw a continuation to this game. Unfortunate as that may be, what's there is still good and I'd recommend playing it. Here's a fun fact, I quite enjoy me some spooky games. I made a couple videos on some spooky games, but legit one of my favorite video game series is Fatal Frame, and every day since March 8th, 2023 that we go without an announcement of more Fatal Frame, I piss, shit, scream, and cry into the void. So welcome to the horror game section of this video, starting off with Lucid Dream. Lucid Dream is a horror point-and-click puzzle type beat that honestly feels like a rough draft of a game. First off, there's no story or characters here. You play some girl and I don't know what her deal is really. All I know is that this is some dream, that's all I got out of this game. That's fucking it. I don't know if this actually develops into something or goes anywhere in the end because I didn't finish this, but I'll come back to that in a second. As far as the game is, it needs at least another pass focusing on restructuring the puzzles. Way too much of the game, I'd argue most of my experience playing the game, was not spent enjoying some puzzling. Nah, there's way too much traveling back and forth between screens. You get one item in a room, have to go to another room that's 3 to 5 screens away, do some bullshit with it, get another item, then have to go back to the original room to use this new item. All this backtracking got really tiring after a while. It did nothing for me. Another thing that does nothing for me is jump scare based horror. Alright, what kind of jump scare is gonna come at me? Yo, what up, girl? That's it? Which Lucid Dream does jump scare based horror. I prefer my horror very atmospheric. I like my shit haunting, oppressive, and deeply unsettling to the core. When I play a horror game, I want it to fuck my shit up, which jump scares don't do it for me. Nice hand. In stage 2, I ended up getting an early bad ending, and it was there that I decided to just drop playing the game because I wasn't having fun and there was nothing substantial in the story or characters to convince me to stick with it because there was fucking none. I was half an hour into playing it when this happened, and based on play counts of Steam reviews, I'm somewhere halfway to a quarter done. That's way too much time of game to play for to be mediocre and for me to not enjoy my time, so why even bother continuing? I did find another horror point-and-click game called Price. Price offers up a really high-effort opening cinematic, which was a surprise to see. This is some money right here, and to put it in a game for free $99 is some passion to your project. Price actually has a story and characters to get invested in. The game's only an hour long, so I'm not going to spoil where it goes. You could play it for yourself, but I can at least say that it is satisfying where it goes. Learning about what is actually happening and the characters and motivations behind their actions kept me engaged throughout playing it. The tutorial is a bit awkwardly worded with how to use items, so it took me a good bit before learning how to properly equip and use items. Either that or I'm stupid, that's also likely. For reference, it's just scroll to the item in the inventory and it'll automatically be used if it can be used when examining something. The puzzly bit isn't bad. It's got logical progression and solutions to them that are still satisfying to work out. But the game does suffer a bit from the specific flag trigger order syndrome. By that I mean the game wants a very specific series of actions as your solution and doesn't much support any kind of sequence breaking. You get half of a music sheet, for example, and there's a table you can examine with more sheet music on it. It's pretty fucking obvious that your sheet music should be combined with the sheet music on the table. But you're not allowed to do so until you examine a different part of the room and notice an unfinished requiem. Only then can you go back to the table with sheet music and combine it with the one in your inventory. That to me is, at the very least, the most annoying example the game contains, and it doesn't get worse than that. Outside of that, price is only an hour long, and I would suggest playing it. Absolutely over Lucid Dream, that's for damn sure. Now we get to the last game I'm going to talk about in this video, that being an RPG Maker horror called Anne. Anne took me about 2 hours to get through with some save scumming help. Without that, probably would have taken me an extra hour. 3 hours isn't that bad of an offer. That certainly makes it longer than the average game on this list. Anne presents itself as a love letter to the RPG Maker horror classics of the late 2000s and early 2010s. There's a lot of corpse party in the premise of being trapped in an alternate haunted school. Some Ebe flavor and aesthetic with art-themed haunting and having an older guy assisting you in your survival and escape. That's gotta be a Crooked Man reference, even if that is Wolf RPG and not RPG Maker. And the store page also directly references other games such as Ao Oni and Mad Father. This is real fucking high quality in the art in general, but also the sprinkling of animated cutscenes throughout the game. Each time there was a new one, it caught me off guard and was extremely welcome to see. Based on the games that play direct influence on Anne, you can probably guess that Anne has a big emphasis on chase sequences and some light puzzling elements going on. But especially chase sequences. Hope you like that shit. I found it fun, and it can certainly be challenging learning the proper way to avoid death. And death sure comes easy. You're gonna die a lot, which fortunately is not only really easy to quickly save, but also Anne has autosaves built in, so it's never a frustrating experience. Just reload and get right back to running. Anne is one of the better games on this list, and I would absolutely recommend playing this game. It's some good shit. Whenever you hear about free-to-play games, it usually comes with a negative response, at least from me. Free-to-play has gained a reputation as games designed to run your pockets with its association with ass gas and gotcha trash. Fuck those games, and I hate their predatory bullshit. But not every game on Steam labeled free-to-play is like that and should be given a chance. Are all those games worth checking out? Hell no! Even if the currency being exchanged isn't monetary, time is, and if I'm going to go out on a limb, take time out of my day to give you a chance, you better be worth that time. Just because there's no price tag attached, that doesn't deprive the game of any legitimacy, nor should the game be exempt of scrutiny and critique. And through this video, I've even found some really fucking cool games, Psychopomp easily being my favorite out of this lineup. A game so good I actually ended up spending money anyway when the whole point of the video was not to. And there's gotta be other games like that. It's just a matter of finding them.